For today's episode, we're diving into something that every ambitious woman has thought about or maybe struggled with, which is how do you date and have relationships while also being a powerhouse in your career? So I couldn't think of a better guest to come and talk about this other than Gabby Bernstein. She is a best-selling author. She's a spiritual guide. She's the queen of manifestation. And what I really like about her approach is that it's really centered in self-help and self-accountability versus like, I'm gonna blame all the dudes for everything kind of approach. And she's got a lot of frameworks around healing and getting out of your own way. I am newly single, so I'm really excited for this conversation. Gabby, welcome to BOSSY.
Girlfriend, I'm so happy to be with you. Yeah. And I loved the outfit. It was a vibe. And
Thanks.
Newly single, congratulations. Let's jump into that.
Yeah, it actually feels really good. I went through like dark period and now I'm back.
Coming out.
So I want to talk, I think I saw this on Instagram. I saw a clip of you and you were saying that like the secret to authentic relationships is to just tell people what you want.
Yep.
And I want to start talking about that and hearing your thoughts on that. Like, what does that look like? Maybe we can like role play as an example.
I think it only took me about 45 years to figure this out.
Right.
And I'm just figuring it out last week and announcing it to the world.
Okay,
and it's clear to me I have a relationship book in me at some point. So I would say that the secret that I've kind of uncovered in the last month particularly is to stop expecting people to read your mind and to stop beating around the bush or being disappointed when people don't do the thing that you want them to do. Because even in the best of cases, when people are trying their best to do what you want or give you what you want, they're probably going to fall short. Yeah. So the secret is to just ask for what you want clearly.
What's an example of like asking for what you want?
An example of someone asking for what they want would be to calmly and confidently with direct clarity. So there's calm, confidence, and clarity that are very, very important because you don't want to be asking for what you want with an attitude. You don't want to be asking for what you want in a beat around the bush way. You want to ask.
See, that's
for what
the
you
problem.
Want. That's the problem. We're usually kind of like, well, it'd be nice, or could I maybe, or half asking. Ask for what you want with clarity.
Yeah.
With confidence and with connection too. You want to be connected to the person. So it's looking them in the eye. It's being calm with your tone. Listen, I'm practicing this every single day. I'm trying to, I run a team of people. I'm trying to get them to do the things that I want them to do, right? This is my brand. It's my business. And so I don't always do it right. I will get on and I'll be very clear about what I want, but I might not be that calm. Or I'll be calm, but I won't be clear. And and so you have to check yourself. What's the energy behind my request? And if it is anything other than calm and connected and clear, then you got to sort of pull it back, wait a minute, do some work on it, and then return to it.
Okay, I have a way that I try. I don't know if I'm all the way successful. I try to tell people what I want. It is actually, interestingly, the same thing I do as like a people manager at work as I do in dating, which maybe sounds kind of weird. So maybe we'll talk about you, give me your opinion. We'll tell you your opinion. Okay, so for like my team, for example, let me give you the dating context first, and then I'll tell you how to apply to my team. I have for myself a dating scorecard. It is in Excel. And it is not to judge other people, it's to hold myself accountable of like, did you get excited or did you actually like check to see if like these things you said you wanted that you were like putting out the vibration to get, like did you check that person also is matching that vibration back? Okay, so cool. It's like an accountability. It's not a long like scorecard. There's like 5 things on it. So like, for example, there's a thing on there, there's a line on there that is like committed to their introspective personal growth. That is
so
really
these are like
important
your non-negotiables. Non-negotiables.
Yeah, there are things that are like really important to me.
Great.
And of course, like nobody has like 100% on all the things. So they're not like yes, no non-negotiables. They're just things that are important to me that I value and that I'm like trying to attract. Or like someone who, there's another line that's like designs their own life. Like for me, because I am such a designer of my life, it's really important that my partner also think that way and not be like, sometimes you talk to people and they're like, I hate my job, I hate my life, I hate this, I hate that, but I can't do anything about it.
Yes.
Like that doesn't really that ends up clashing in relation with me. And so that's an example. So there's things like that on the scorecard. And
the scorecard.
you're like, I want to hear what you think about my scorecard. I have girlfriends that are like, Tara, this is a terrible idea that you got this scorecard.
I'm going to take
and others
in
think
first
it's lovely.
I
want to hear.
Yeah.
Say it again.
I'm going to take you in and take the whole thing in before you give me the full opinion.
You're like, I want to hear the whole scorecard.
Yeah. Give it to me. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me tell you I literally will pull it up.
Well, actually, I just want to understand it. So you've got this scorecard. Let me just repeat it back to you. So I'm hearing it's kind of like non-negotiables, but not necessarily non-negotiables. Do you feel clear about it?
I feel largely clear about it. I think I evolve it over time as I realize the things that are important to me or less important to me. So this is very type A, but I have multiple tabs because I can see each time I redo it, I have a revision history of what it was before. And when I started, it was stupid. It was dumb stuff, all kinds of dumb stuff. So now there's 5 things that are important to me. I don't know that I feel like they're deal breakers, but what I was saying to you about communicating what I want is that I will share with people, there are things that are really important to me, and I will share this joke about me having this scorecard. And inevitably, people who are inquisitive, they ask me what's on it.
Okay.
And then I share what is on it and what's important to me and what I care about. What do you think about that as a way to share?
I don't hate it. I just want to adjust it.
Great. Adjust me, girl. What would be a better way to do this to attract what I want?
So first, I think it's important to really evaluate what you have for each score, right? Yeah. So first of all, I don't love the language of a score, first of all, but I'll come back to that. But I like to think about it as non-negotiables. And also, so having your list of your non-negotiables and then your nice to haves, right?
Aha.
So that knowing the difference, because if you don't have that clarity, then you could be like, oh, well, he didn't run his own business, or he didn't have his own, designing his life, but maybe he's perfect in every other way and he's just not designing his life. And you know what? You get to be the designer of the life.
Interesting.
So is the design the life actually a non-negotiable, or is it a nice to have? And I want you to define these scores, because right now, a non-negotiable might be he respects me. Right? A non-negotiable is it could be for you that, that he has a flexible lifestyle. I mean, I don't know what your non-negotiables would be, but I want you to define these different things, because some of them, if they're just a nice to have, and I'll give you an example. My coach many years ago, her name is Raw Goddess. She was a coach of mine maybe 20 years ago. And she told me the story about how she had her list of her, all the things that she wanted. And it was he's an entrepreneur and he's this and he's this and he's this. And one of the things on her list was that he was tall and black. Okay. So she meets this man, Corey, comes into her life, and dude is everything. She's like, oh, well, he's just my friend, right? But he had all the things on her list. But she couldn't see that he was her man, because he was short and white. Okay? So the reality here is, don't miss your Corey, right? Just because he's not tall and black, or whatever it is, whatever that non-negotiable is for you.
Yeah.
Because you can be like, that would be nice to have, that he's tall and black, but her beloved happens to be this short white Jewish man, you know what I mean? Who wound up being the perfect guy for her. And they have the most amazing relationship.
So when you say what you want, like that advice that I saw on Instagram, for example, when you're saying say what you want, you're saying, you don't mean say what your non-negotiables are or those sorts of things. You're saying, I want to go to dinner and I'd like to, what do you mean when you say what you want?
It could be whatever you want. So you could, if you're sitting in your seat of confidence and clarity and connection, and you're sitting across from a man on your first date, but you're cool and you're calm and you're clear, and you're like, you know what? I'm looking for someone on the first date. This is called sorting. I'm looking for someone that wants to get married and have kids. That's fine. I have no problem with you saying that on the first date, because if the man does not want to get married and have kids, then it's not your guy, if that's a non-negotiable for you. But I don't want you throwing everything you want at him. Just get clear on what your non-negotiables are.
So what if I'm thinking about this advice to tell people what you want? And I think a lot of people would say if you go onto a date and you just start saying and sharing explicitly what you want. For example, if you're I want to get married and have kids, and you say that up front, that is too much for a first date scenario. Do you disagree with that?
I think if you have non-negotiables that you're if they don't have this thing, there's no second date. Yeah. And you're very clear about that. then I think it's completely fine to just very nicely, calmly, casually be like, listen, I'm dating to look, and I'm not asking that you be my husband, but I am looking to get married. So if you're like, I don't want to get married again, I don't want to have kids, that's important for me to know now. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because especially if you're a woman and your biological clock is ticking and you've got, maybe you haven't frozen your eggs or whatever, you want to be like, I do actually want to have kids. And if you're like, I've already had my kids but you know that's in your heart a non-negotiable, I don't think there's anything wrong with figuring that out up front. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The clarity I'm talking about is in all relationships. Just when you want something, not necessarily what you want out of someone, right? But when you want something, when you're asking to have your needs met in a moment.
Yeah.
Right. For the people that work for you, or the people that work with you, or the people that are your partners in your marriage. It's about calmly and confidently speaking your truth and asking for what you want.
Yeah. Someone was sharing this, that like when the relationships really like break down or are not working, it's because there's this buildup of debt around people not saying what it was that they want. And so now you have a bunch of resentment about like, oh, they didn't hear me, they didn't do this thing, and I didn't really say it. And like the more time you go not just saying up front what you want, the more like there's this disintegration of the partnership in a way.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think that what goes unspoken creates separation.
What goes unspoken creates separation. Yeah.
So it's interesting because, I've sort of been in this situation where I've been like letting a lot of the leaders in my company lead. And I realized I was like, everybody's got to lead in their lane, but they all need a leader. And I'm stepping in with more of an energy of leader. And I want to make sure that leader energy isn't me being an asshole, because that can absolutely happen, because you can be resentful or frustrated or whatever. You're like, I don't want to be doing this, but everyone needs that. And so if I want them to lead, I have to lead them. And when I come in now with that new energy, I'm trying to make sure that there are systems around that. And so with this business stuff relates to romantic relationships too. So right now, one of the things I'm doing is making sure that we never miss a quarterly review with everyone. Right? And let them review me too. Like they can I need them to be able to give me that feedback as well of, you're doing X, Y, Z, and it would be nice if you didn't. And they have to be able to do that. That's not going to work if it's a one-way conversation. Yeah. And so a quarterly review with these folks. And that can go for not that you're having a quarterly review of your partnership, but you have maybe you have like every 3 months where you're like, let's sit down and talk about how we're feeling. If you don't do therapy together, I do therapy every week with my husband, so we every week are like, come to Jesus, where are we at? But in the relationships where you don't have that touch point, you could have these moments where you're like, let's every 3 months or every 2 months sit down and see how far we've come. Let's celebrate the wins. Let's look at the things that we could be doing differently.
Yeah, in my last relationship, we did that. We started off doing that. Every month we would, like, when we were at dinner, we would like have that meeting and share sort of like what's working and not working, highs and lows, what you're excited about, what's like, oh, I wish it's a little bit different in the relationship. And then what I noticed was that when there was a month where things were a little bit more bad than good, we would just like cancel the meeting. We just wouldn't do the meeting. Oh, yeah.
The meetings get canceled all the time.
And so the problem with the meeting wasn't happening, which goes back to what you're saying about like telling people what you want. And that's very different than what I would do at work, for example, where if we have like a quarterly review and it's on the calendar, or a weekly one-on-one and it's on the calendar, maybe you miss a weekly kind of thing, but you kind of keep this cadence. Even if there is something that you don't have good to say, you keep the cadence. And I think I maybe didn't do that in my relationships. And so that creates a whole opportunity to not say what you want.
Yeah, I think you got to keep the cadence. I think that's a really beautiful way to put it. Yeah. Keep the cadence, definitely.
Keep the cadence.
Yes.
I have a lot of girlfriends who feel like they are attracting partners or people that are unavailable, like emotionally unavailable. What would you say to someone who keeps attracting like emotionally unavailable partners?
I would ask them what they believe about relationships. Because I just wrote this book called Self-Help. It's my 10th book. And it's based on a therapy. And the therapy is excellent for relationships. This therapy called internal family systems therapy.
Yeah.
And core message is that the beliefs from our childhood create who we are as adults. It's just like simply put.
Yeah.
And we can't force those beliefs to change, but we can befriend those beliefs. And so the self-help method that I've created based on this therapy is about checking in with the beliefs that block us from what we want. So in this instance that what we're referring to, if you keep attracting unavailable men, it's likely that you have a core belief that you're not worthy of more. Period.
I'm not worthy of people who are emotionally available.
I don't want to put the belief in someone's head. I'd ask them what that belief is.
Got it.
So they'd have to ask themselves, what is it? So, okay, you keep attracting unavailable men. Okay, well, what do you believe about your relationship status? What do you believe about yourself in relationships? What do you believe about men or women or whoever you're attracting? What do you believe?
Yeah.
Because we manifest what we believe. So if you keep attracting unavailable men, it's because there's a belief system in you that believes that that's what you are worthy of.
Yeah. How do you go about finding that belief? Like, if you're not really sure how to answer that question of like, this is the narrative that I have running in my subconscious. It's in my subconscious. I can't get in there. I don't know what it's saying. Like, how do you find it?
You ask, you're curious. Curiosity is the whole thing. So let's just say, starting with the belief, like, what do you want? The woman might say, or the man might say, I want my partner. I want my beloved. Okay. And then you would ask yourself just very simply, well, what's the belief that's blocking it? It will come up very clearly.
Yeah.
It will come out very clearly. Now,
and
if
you just
don't
have to
know
learn
what
to
the
listen.
belief is, you could say, what's the feeling that's blocking it? And you might be like, okay, I feel this XYZ in my heart. I feel it in my chest. And so this is the practice. The practice is first to check in with the belief or the pattern or the feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, so it could also be, what's the pattern that's in the way? The pattern could be that I sabotage my relationships. So what is the belief, the pattern, or the feeling? That's the first step. And you check inside with those patterns and beliefs. And the second step here is to be curious, to ask questions. Well, how long has it been around? Where do I feel it in my body? What do I know about it? The third step is to ask that pattern, belief, or feeling, what do you need? And then the final step is to notice the shift that you feel inside. Notice the information and the feelings that change inside of you. Because with that 4-step inquiry, what happens is you start to befriend these patterns and beliefs and recognize they're really just young parts of ourselves that have been around forever.
Have you heard of the Landmark Forum? It's like a leadership program. Okay, so I did the Landmark Forum years ago, and I think it actually was like a very big entry point for me in terms of my own self-awareness and self-work. And one of the things that you do in this program is you like identify some core things that have happened in your life that really kind of you decided something about yourself.
Yeah.
Right. So if I think about kind of core moments that happened for me, there was a time where I was in like, I don't know, I think it was in like pre-kindergarten, and like I was playing with a friend and she told me that I couldn't be the princess because I was black, and I like went and cried and told the teacher, and the teacher was like, no, Tara can be the princess. She's all the colors of the rainbow combined. She's just a different kind of princess. And what I got from that was like, oh, my values, I'm a different kind of princess, and like ran with it, like whatever, however old you are in pre-kindergarten, what, like 3 years old, whatever, ran with that, right? That became like a belief that I held. And there's a couple other beliefs that I found in doing that program. I think
that's so interesting because I do see princess energy from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you own it, you know? But was
that's
it a bad
one I've
thing
chosen
or
to keep.
A good thing? It was a good thing.
So as I did that program, I found a couple. Some of them I was like, ooh, girl, this other narrative does not serve me. My other ones are like, I'm not enough. I'm not doing enough. Nobody wants me. Nobody chooses me. Those are my favorite ones to keep coming up that are,
do you want to work with one of them
not
with
positive.
Me?
Yeah, let's do it.
So you're single now. So
I am
work with
single.
Nobody wants me. Nobody chooses me.
Yes.
You feel comfortable
Let's do
doing
it.
That?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, cool. So let's check in with it. Instead of, because so typically if you feel those feelings of those beliefs, you're going to be like, I'm going to check out. Like, I don't want to feel that. I'm going to go work, or I'm going to go date, or I'm going to go eat or drink, not you, but anyone, right? Like, I'm going to go do something over the feeling, and we'll check out. Instead of checking out, I want to check in. Just check in with the belief, okay? So the first step is to choose to check in. So Tara, you want to choose to check in. Yes?
Yeah. Let's do
Okay,
it.
step 1's done. Okay, so focus your attention inward. And if you feel comfortable, you can close your eyes, whatever feels good for you comfortably, okay?
Okay.
And so we're going to choose to check inside with the belief that nobody wants me.
Okay.
Okay, say it in your own words. What is that belief again?
Nobody wants me, nobody chooses me.
Nobody wants me, nobody chooses me. So the second step is
it comes
curiosity.
in a compound.
Yeah. So let's give it some curiosity. Where does it live in your body? Where do you feel it?
I definitely feel it in my shoulders. Like it's like a thing that I carry.
Okay. Are there any images or thoughts attached to it? Or even memories, anything attached to it?
Yeah, like I think that I don't have, this is like not a fully logical connection, but I think like I grew up with like parents in two different cities. My mom's in San Diego, my dad's in LA, and I went back and forth. And I think there was a lot to like navigate from a parent perspective, but also a social perspective, right? Like if I'm with my friends in one city, I can't be with them. I can't like do all the things because I got to be in another city. Then I'm switching back and forth. And I think I probably like there's some dramatizing around that of like making it mean that.
Yes.
That nobody wants me, nobody chooses me. But I think something around, I always go back to there's something around like me being pulled back and forth between different parents in different cities and the cognitive dissonance around that. I can't like fully connect the dot for you on why.
You don't even have to connect any dots.
But
I'm
it's
just
there.
Curious.
Yeah.
Let it show us what it needs to show us. How old is this part of yourself?
Like middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very clear. Okay, so it's young. Yeah. And is there anything else it wants you to know right now?
I got a voice in my head that was like, girl, that is not true. So I've got the rest of my team in there. Yeah, somebody else.
That's another team. Exactly. It's another part that's like protecting you from it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a protection mechanism. All right. So do you want to ask any more questions to this part of you, or you feel like you've given enough curiosity for today?
I'm not sure what other questions I can ask.
Any images
I
or
sort of
feelings?
Yeah. So I think the thing that comes up is like, it's not so much of a feeling if I'm going back in time in history as being a young person. It's a feeling from a more recent experience where I felt the like extremity of this. There's like a feeling of like, like I'm going to be by myself. I'm going to be lonely that comes up. Fear. It's a fear. Yeah. And have you ever seen Chef's Table? That show. There's an episode of Chef's Table where it's this guy in Chicago. His name is Grant Achaz, and he gets cancer in his mouth and he loses his taste, and his taste comes back. And as his taste comes back, though, like as he recovers, he experiences like flavors one at a time. So cool. Salt, sweet, and like sort of like how you do as a kid. Yeah, you just don't remember like developing flavors that way. So he gets to do that as an adult, and it really helps him with his sense of flavor. Okay. And I recently did and I'm not recommending this necessarily to anyone. I did an MDMA therapy session. Yeah. And the most impactful part of that therapy session in relationship to dating was that so I felt like lots of oneness. Yes, right on that drug. It's like I'm connected to the universe. I love everybody. I love everything. That's how I'm feeling. And as I was coming back to being, oh my gosh, so cute. As I was coming back,
a visitor.
I know. As I'm coming back, the feeling of I could feel the intense feeling of like fear of loneliness slowly creeping in. Okay. So and it was such a contrast from the oneness. So that feeling, I just thought of that feeling in relation when you just asked me that.
So let's do this. So that's beautiful. Okay, so let's go back to the part of you for one moment. You just close your eyes for a moment.
Yeah.
And let's connect to that part of you that feels lonely. Okay, that feels like that nobody wants me. We're not going to go too deep into it, but just going to give it a little bit of attention right now. Yeah. And I want you to just ask it, what is it? What does it need?
Maybe a hug.
A hug. Yeah. A little hug. Okay. Can you give it a little bit of breath right now and maybe just like a little air hug to yourself or a squeeze to yourself internally or externally? And just breathe into that because it needs your love, right?
Yeah.
It needs your love. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, I think that was a really good.
Do you feel connected to it a little bit right now?
I do. I feel pretty connected to that version of myself, and I think it's taken me some years to like be able to like tap into that, but I do feel connected to it. And I think that she's like sweet and cute, and like I love that she like that version of me needs that, and she like lives in me all the
Okay,
time.
so you
if that
feel
makes sense.
like a little bit loving towards her? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
Do you have compassion for her?
Yes, I think that's probably a good way to
do.
describe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have more
Yeah.
clarity right now about her just from this conversation with her?
Yeah, I have more clarity, and also I think like another like a retie to her.
More connection.
Yeah.
Great. So then what we just did was we accessed self inside. And the energy of self is like an inner healer. It's like an internal parent. And it's calm. It's an energy of calmness and clarity, compassion, connection, curiosity, courage to get to know a little bit more, confidence. And so that energy is in you.
Yeah.
And so is this part of you that feels so scared. And so it's not about telling these parts that they're bad. It's not about overriding them or, trying to push past them.
Yeah.
It's about connecting to them.
I have done for many years hypnotherapy, and it's been a really helpful tool for me to do a couple things. One of them, though, one thing I've gotten better at in my journey of doing this is like when you asked me like, well, what does it need? For example, what does that version of you need? And I was able to like hear an answer. That hug answer came very quickly, and I didn't swat it away.
Yeah.
Like I used to feel like, oh, nothing came. And I don't know, I don't have an answer. And I realized the reason nothing came was because I think something maybe did come, but I had such a fast mechanism of like taking my logical brain and like moving away
That's
what came that
part.
yeah, like
mechanism.
What is happening there? First of all, if someone's like, you ask them like, what came, what did you hear? And they're like, I didn't hear anything. What do you mean?
I'll break it down for you. So as young children, we have extreme experiences. So it could be very extreme, like abuse or neglect, or it could be maybe seemingly less extreme, like mom lives here and dad lives here, but that's still extreme, right? So we have these experiences that are very traumatic for us as young children, and we don't have the capacity to process them. So for example, if that moment when that little girl said that you're not the princess, if your teacher had not given you that new reframe, you would have had a very different story that would have created a very exiled moment in your life, and it would have set you off in a different direction. And so we have these moments. Like I didn't feel in control. I had a lot of trauma as a child, so I didn't have control. And so what did I do? I built up a protection mechanism that was like, I have to control everything in my life in order to feel safe.
Right.
And that energy's been carried on. I'm still working with it today, right? It's an ongoing protection mechanism. And so these protection mechanisms are called protector parts. And we have many of them. They're like little children inside of us that are just trying to protect us from feeling those young exiled feelings. And that's what we're living in. We're living in and out of these protector parts. So the parts of us that show up to relationships being like, well, if you're not going to show up the way I want, then get out of my way. That energy is a protector. The part that is that believes like I'm not worthy of love. That's a protector. Why? Because maybe there was a lack of love as a child, and so there was this exiled emotion of I don't want to ever feel that pain of abandonment ever again. So I'm going to be an avoidant attachment style, and I'm not going to ever put myself in a position where I would be abandoned. So I'm going to protect myself at all costs.
Yeah.
And the practice here is to befriend the protectors. Because if we start to befriend the protection mechanisms, we can get closer to what that young child inside needs.
Yeah. So the protector mechanism is maybe blocking you from hearing what the answer was that your inner child needed. In my scenario, it was like a hug. Is that what you're saying?
The protectors are blocking you from the freedom and the ease that is available to you. Because as very young children, we experienced trauma. The trauma was too extreme, and we've been protecting ourselves ever since. And how does it feel to live in a constant state of protection mechanisms? It sucks.
Yeah. It's a little trapping.
And not only that, but it creates chaos, right? It doesn't allow you to trust. It doesn't allow you to enjoy life. It puts you into extreme patterns. The patterns can be so extreme at times that they become like addictions.
Yeah. And we're talking about today, like we're talking a little bit about dating, but this also really maps to like you being a leader and leading a team, because those same exact, those same exact characters show up.
Yes. Yeah. And look, you may be somebody who doesn't have has it stronger in one area, maybe stronger with money than it is in relationships because your core wounds were more money related. It doesn't really, there's no one way or another, but we all have protectors.
Yeah.
And so whenever we're in extreme patterns, behaviors, or beliefs, it's a protector part.
Do you have a protector for yourself where you can see how it both shows up in like relationship or romantic scenario and in leading your team?
Yeah, I think the controller part probably showed up everywhere.
Got it. Say more about that.
Well, this morning, my husband's in New York City, and there was actually a fire in my building in New York City today.
Oh,
like the whole roof was on fire. And anyway, it's okay. Everybody's okay.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just getting pictures up from my friends sending me like news images of this like flames from the apartment building.
Wow.
Anyway,
okay.
So I'm in this place of being really controlling, like, you got to get this done, you know what I mean? Like, get out of that, like, and trying to like make him do it faster, or just like, you know, forcing it. And that's okay. That's necessary. It's not these parts of us have good, valuable roles and some negative roles. Where it also is showing up in the same breath today, me being like, what the fuck is going on here? You know, like that's kind of the
at work.
Of it.
Yeah.
Like that's what it wants to say, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's not saying that, but it wants to say that. And so, you know, we have to just witness the feeling and see the pattern of that feeling and how it shows up in all these different dynamics.
And for you, when you do that 4-step activity, you can then tap into, there's like a version of yourself, maybe a younger version of yourself that was where that protector got developed.
Yeah, well, I would just check in with the protector. So I'm not really trying to go to the exiled part. I'm just like, okay, protector part that wants to control everything. What do you need right now? And the part is like, I need to make sure everybody knows what I want.
Yeah.
And so once I hear her say that, then I can go make the list and send the list in a calm way. And if they don't like what I'm asking for, they can deal with that themselves. As long as I know I'm asking for it in a calm and generous way, then I have every right to ask for what I need.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard you talk about like calling things into your life and manifesting things. And my understanding of how one does that is like one part of it is that you have to match the people might say vibration of what you're trying to pull into your life.
Yes.
But whenever I hear that, I have a hard time defining what I mean by vibration.
It's the feeling.
What do you mean by
the feeling? The feeling.
The feeling. Okay.
So that's why the self-help work that I just taught you, the 4 steps, is the manifesting flex. That is the secret to manifesting. There's no other better manifesting tool than that. Because if you can learn how to calm the belief, you manifest what you believe. So if you've got a negative belief that's young and it's on repeat, then you're going to manifest more of that negativity. If you can learn how to calm that belief, then you can start to speak for it, not as it. You can calm your energy, align your energy, and in that alignment, you attract more of what you do want rather than what you don't want.
Yeah, yeah. There's a book that I like. It's called Levels of Energy, and it's got like, there's like a scale of different sort of called vibrations, but I think what's meant by vibrations is like average emotional state. Yeah. So like depressed is a emotional state, and like being in like deep gratitude, that's an emotional state. And we all move around throughout the day, but we kind of have an average. Right? And we might know people who have different averages than us. And so what I'm hearing you say is sort of like that feeling, you feeling more of that on a daily basis is what attracts you having that life or whatever thing you're trying to pull in, so that has that gratitude vibration to match it. Is that what you're saying?
Self, right? So self energy that I talked about, calm, connected, compassionate, courageous, clear, confident, creative. That's the energy of the universe. That's the energy of God. That's the energy of your Buddha nature. That's the energy of the inner wisdom and safety. And that's what manifests. That's what manifests what you want. Yeah. Anything other than self has resonance of fear. It has resonance of attachment. It has resonance of feelings of being inadequate, unlovable, not good enough, and ultimately will be a energy, a vibration that is attracting more of what you don't want. So the simple practice of just noticing when you're in that low vibration or fear-based state and checking in with that fear-based state so that you can get back to self is how we manifest. Because if on each moment by moment basis we return to self and we get back into that calm, back into that connection, and back into that compassion and that curiosity, then we can lead and live from a place of self, not from a place of an asshole. And so I gotta, making me realize as I speak out loud, it's like, every morning I get on the phone with my chief of staff, and if I've done my check-in, I'm not going to be in that energy of control. If I haven't done my check-in, the controller is going to be there.
If you've done it proactively, like don't wait for the controller to show up. You checked in with yourself in the morning.
Yeah.
Because over time you can kind of know who the protectors are. So you get up in the morning and you just kind of have a chat. You have your one-on-ones with the protectors before you have your one-on-ones with your team.
And in the book, I actually even have a practice of journaling with your parts. So, and then also in my app, I have an app called the Gabby Coaching app, which I got to get you in it. I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, beautiful.
There's guided meditations for checking in.
Love it. Lovely. Okay, amazing. So can you share a little bit about where people can find the book, the app? This is all the things that you're talking about are really helpful to, I think, a lot of high-performing women. They want to know more. How do they find you?
Yeah, I mean, for high-performing women, this is going to be your book. Self-help. Yeah. This is your chance to change your life. Amazon, Audible, wherever you get your books. Don't walk, run. It's a book I wish I had, 20 years ago when I started my career, and for my relationships. And so highly recommend it. It's based on the therapy that changed my life, changed how I lead as a president of a company, changed how I teach, changed how I love, changed how I show up in the world. And my app is called the Gabby Coaching app, and that, my friends, is epic. It's hundreds of meditations, daily coaching practices, like 2 minutes a day, challenges, manifesting challenge, the trust the universe challenge. Just all kinds of anxiety relief, all of the things that we need as boss ladies, and you can try that for free at deargabby.com/app.
Gabby, thank you so much for joining us. This is really lovely.
I adore you. I can't wait to hang out with you in Mexico City.
Yeah, let's do it, girl. Yeah, thanks for joining.